I didn't see an adult penis until I turned 18. I grew up in a very strict and religious household where the focus was Jesus and academics. My father shoved religion down my throat, namely to keep me from shoving other things down my throat. He was obsessed with keeping me away from boys and also keeping my nose inside of a book. He told me, he's like, Laura, I don't want you to have a serious relationship until you have a PhD. But I also wanted to go to medical school and become a doctor, so I guess he figured I'd do that first and then I would get a PhD. So I did the math in my head and I'm like, I guess he expects me to be 35 when I have my first kiss. Too late, Dad, I already made out with Russell Pascoe in preschool. So I had, a few boyfriends in high school, but I used to try to keep these to myself because I didn't want to put up with my dad's lectures. But then I started dating this guy, Will, and it got to a point where it was really hard to keep it a secret. But to appease my dad, I spent more time in the science lab than I did on dates with Will. And he was so patient for putting up with a girlfriend who wouldn't put out because my father had instilled the fear of God in me, so my physical contact with Will, it didn't go anywhere beyond the clothing barrier. I was at the top of my class GPA-wise, but I was probably dead last with some basic life skills, namely knowing the male anatomy, until a special homework assignment changed everything. Now, my school participated in this county-wide job shadowing event, and I signed up, and I was able to score myself an internship at the local hospital, and I would get to watch surgeries in an operating room. And I was so excited because I would get to pretend to be a real doctor. I couldn't believe it. So I daydreamed about what kind of surgeries I would watch. And I grew up in Newport Richey, Florida, and this is a small city outside of Tampa. And at the time, the congressional district was the second most populated with elderly people in the country. So I assumed that I'd be watching a lot of open heart surgeries that day because, those are the kinds of diseases that plague the elderly. Well, it's the day of the event, and I'm super excited. I drive to the hospital, I go in, and I meet with the surgical nurse who's going to take care of me. And I'm feeling really like an adult. And the nurse hands me a pair of scrubs and says, go in the locker room and go change. And I'm changing into these scrubs. I'm like, wow, this is really it. And I'm super excited, but I'm also really nervous. Like, what if I throw up watching the blood and guts? But I realize, I know I've watched these surgeries on TV, but hopefully, that practice will allow me to compose myself and act like a real doctor. So I come out of the locker room, and the surgical nurse is like, follow me, we're going to watch laser surgery. And I was like, all right, I guess this is cool. It's not the heart surgery I was expecting, but, that's all right. So I go in, I walk very confidently like I belong in this operating room. So we go in the operating room, and it's supposed to be laser surgery. I look up at the patient's eyes, and I don't see anything going on. And then I notice this video screen, and there's tumors being zapped, and it's being projected onto this screen, and I'm like, well, where is this coming from? Where's the source of these tumors? And suddenly, my heart stops. I see a big metal tube inside of this patient's penis. Oh my God, this is penis surgery! I am not supposed to see a penis until I get married. What am I supposed to do? But I'm supposed to be a doctor. So I take some deep breaths, I compose myself. I'm like, just act like you belong here. Just act like you watch these penis surgeries every day. You do this for a living. So I calm myself down, and then I think, this is actually really fascinating. And at the end of it, I just want to laugh. I just want to go home and tell all my friends. But it was only the beginning of the day. So throughout the day, I got to watch many more prostate procedures. I could have opened up my own clinic at the end of the day. And my favorite was this 82-year-old man who gets into stirrups so they can inject iodine seeds into his prostate. And he thought I was one of his real nurses. And so he's just talking to me nonchalantly through the whole thing like I belong there. I deserve an award for keeping my composure during that moment. And once that torture is finished, my surgical nurse is like, well, how would you like to help me prep the next patient for his colonoscopy? I told him I have to go to my golf match. I ran out of there, ran to the locker room, changed out of my scrubs, ran to my car, and just laughed the whole way home, trying to process what happened to me this day. And today, I am a software project manager, and I don't work anywhere near a hospital. Thank you.